For years, NASCAR has always believed that if one driver becomes too dominant, sooner or later the rulebook catches up. So now let me ask you something. What if one driver has discovered an advantage that every single team can see, every engineer can study, every crew chief can download, yet nobody can copy? That's exactly what's happening with Shane van Gisbergen. Drivers aren't just calling him the best road racer in NASCAR. Some of them are admitting they simply cannot drive the way he drives. And now, after 6 wins in his last 7 road course races, people inside the garage are beginning to ask one uncomfortable question. Will NASCAR eventually change the rules just to stop him? Stay with us until the end, because the answer isn't as simple as most fans think. Before we get into it, if you enjoy detailed NASCAR stories that go beyond the headlines, make sure you subscribe to NASCAR Nation News so you never miss our next breakdown. Let's get into it. When Shane van Gisbergen arrived in NASCAR, plenty of people thought his success would eventually slow down. They assumed Cup Series veterans would learn his tricks. They believed the experience of drivers like Kyle Larson, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and others would eventually close the gap. Instead, the opposite happened. SVG kept winning. In just 16 Cup Series road and street course starts, he has already collected 8 victories. To understand how incredible that is, consider this. Jeff Gordon is widely regarded as one of NASCAR's greatest road course racers. It took Gordon 47 road course starts to reach 9 wins. SVG is already within 1 victory of matching that mark, despite running only a fraction of those races. Even more impressive, 6 of those wins have come in his last 7 road course events. At this point, people inside the garage aren't wondering if he's the favorite anymore. They're wondering why nobody can drive like him. The answer starts inside the cockpit. Modern NASCAR Cup cars are very different from the cars many drivers grew up racing. Today's sequential gearbox barely requires the clutch once the race begins. Because of that, nearly every Cup driver brakes with the left foot while keeping the right foot ready for the throttle. And after years of doing it, it has become second nature. SVG does something completely different. He brakes with his right foot. At the same time, he rolls the side of his foot onto the throttle while his left foot works the clutch. It's the classic heel and toe technique. To him, it isn't special at all. As SVG explained on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s podcast, "It's normal to me. I always right foot brake and heel toe. It's what I've grown up doing. I only started left foot braking last year in a rally car." That single sentence explains why everyone else is struggling. He didn't learn this yesterday. He's been doing it for most of his racing career. So why does that matter? Because heel and toe isn't just about changing gears. It changes how the entire car behaves entering a corner. As VG feathers the clutch, the engine briefly stops pulling against the rear tires. That reduces driveline shock and keeps the rear tires calmer under heavy braking. Dale Earnhardt Jr. described it perfectly. He explained that SVG can actually feel the rear tires beginning to hop before corner entry, then lightly taps the clutch to settle the entire car. The result is smoother braking and better tire life. The second advantage comes during corner entry. SVG has explained that releasing the clutch at just the right moment actually helps the car rotate naturally toward the apex. Instead of fighting the front tires, the car turns more willingly. Finally comes corner exit. Because heel and toe perfectly matches engine speed with the lower gear, there's almost no sudden jolt when power comes back in. The car stays balanced. That allows SVG to accelerate earlier while everyone else is still trying to settle their cars. Naturally, the obvious question is this: why doesn't everyone just copy him? The simple answer: they've tried. Joey Logano planned to spend an entire Watkins Glen weekend using right foot braking. He abandoned the idea during practice. Austin Cindric even raced a supercars event in Australia, hoping to learn the technique. It still didn't translate once he returned to NASCAR. Ross Chastain admitted he can't keep his feet on the correct pedals. "I've learned my way, and at 33 it's tough," Chastain said. "I can do it intentionally for like a corner or three, and then I go back to my way." Kyle Busch tested heel and toe at Indianapolis. Instead of getting faster, he lost roughly half a second per lap. "I know how to do it," Busch admitted, "but it's very clunky." Kyle Larson was even more direct. "There's zero chance I can learn how to do that." Even Denny Hamlin, who originally raced using right foot braking early in his career, admitted switching back now would be incredibly difficult. The problem isn't understanding the technique, it's replacing years of muscle memory. What's even stranger is that SVG isn't hiding anything. Every NASCAR team has access to SMT data. That means engineers can study every brake application, every throttle input, every corner. The information is available to everyone. Yet having the data doesn't mean having the ability. Cup teams receive very little practice time. Open testing is almost non-existent. You simply can't erase 15 years of driving habits during one practice session. That's why so many drivers openly admit they know exactly what SVG is doing, they just can't physically do it themselves. But here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. SVG doesn't even believe heel and toe is the biggest reason he's winning. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. asked him about it, he pushed back. "I don't think it is a big advantage. Of course, I'm going to say that, but it's all I've known." Instead, SVG pointed towards something else. His background in Australian supercars taught him how to protect tires over an entire race. And that's exactly what other NASCAR drivers have noticed. After finishing second to SVG at Sonoma, Chase Briscoe called him one of the best road racers in the world. Adge Allmendinger said SVG keeps the tire underneath him without making it angry. Connor Zilisch pointed out something few fans even notice. While most drivers reach full throttle as early as possible, SVG often chooses not to. He gives up a tiny amount of speed in one corner to protect the tires for the next 20 laps. And over an entire race, that difference becomes enormous. So where does NASCAR fit into all of this? Recently, rumors have started spreading that NASCAR could eventually step in. Several ideas have been discussed around the garage. One theory suggests standardizing pedal spacing to make heel and toe more difficult. Another idea would eliminate clutch use after the race starts altogether. The most extreme suggestion involves changing the differential specifications, something SVG himself has discussed as being closely connected to how he learned this driving style. But here's the important fact. None of those changes have actually happened. NASCAR's latest technical updates focused on horsepower and aerodynamic changes. Nothing officially targeted the clutch, pedal box, or differential. Still, history explains why people are talking. Whenever one team or one driver finds a major competitive edge, NASCAR eventually takes a closer look. Sometimes the rules stay the same. Sometimes they don't. That's why this conversation isn't going away anytime soon. Whether NASCAR eventually changes anything or not, Shane van Gisbergen has already accomplished something remarkable. He didn't invent heel and toe. He simply reminded an entire generation of NASCAR drivers that an old-school racing technique can still beat modern methods. And perhaps that's the biggest surprise of all. The entire garage knows exactly what he's doing. Some have even tried copying him. Yet, 1 year later, they're still chasing him. So now we want to hear from you. Should NASCAR leave the rulebook alone and let talent decide the winner? Or should the sport step in if one driver's technique becomes almost impossible to match? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.